Hi guys, welcome to NTI Day 4. I've recorded a video lesson for you all so that we can go ahead and start learning some new content just like we would in class. I am new to using Screencastify. This is not my first take, but it's going to have to work. Be patient with me. I will get better at this, I promise. Our lesson objectives for today. I can describe the structure and function of 3 types of muscle. I understand the 4 main functions of muscles. I can define and explain the role of each of the following: endomysium, paramysium, epimysium, and tendon. I've also listed some vocab for you all down below. The left side should hopefully be review from our tissue units. And then we've got a couple new words, which are going to be the focus of today's lesson. I have broken this into a lot smaller sections. This is probably a third or less of what we would do in class on a normal lecture day. And things are going to be set up a little bit differently. So, NTI note taking. I did not give you a fill in the blank note guide. I'm going to post questions to Google Classroom that will serve as your notes. We've talked a lot about what a real college anatomy class would look like, or science class. Your professor is probably going to lecture for 50 minutes or more. They're not going to check your notes. They're not going to tell you what to write down. So we're going to kind of do a little bit of that, but with some more support. I'm not asking you to write down every single thing I say or all of the information from the slides. I'm going to be really flexible about your formatting. Type your notes on the Google Doc, print the questions, fill it in, or just write the question numbers on notebook paper and turn it in that way. I just need some sort of evidence of your work. So take a picture, attach it to Google Classroom, email it to me, send it to me over Remind. I don't care. I just need it turned in. And I'll go over your questions again at the end. But the main thing is create a T-chart to compare the different features of skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscle. So you need to address 3 things: structure, function, and location. What are the 4 main functions of the muscular system? And then you're going to create a visual representation of muscular structure. And I'm going to be pretty flexible, and I want you all to be creative with how you set that up. I would recommend opening those questions on Google Classroom, choosing your format, and getting all set up before you watch the rest of this video. Pick a format that works for you and that will actually help you learn something. Don't just choose to type it because you think that's the easiest way. I've tried to take notes while typing. I tried it in college. It doesn't work for me. I can't look over my typed notes and then get anything from it. So I have to learn from handwriting, but people learn different ways. Pick a format that will work for you and that you'll actually get something from. Okay, so our 3 types of muscle. We have skeletal, smooth, and cardiac. Main differences: structure, function, and location. Don't forget that a striation, or something being striated, means it's striped. So if you look at cardiac and skeletal muscle under a microscope, it actually has little lines or stripes that are visible. All right, skeletal muscle. So this is kind of the muscle that we typically think of when you guys labeled muscles on your pretest. Those were all different types of skeletal muscle. It's under conscious or voluntary control. We can see all of the striations when we look at this tissue under the microscope. The muscle cells are long, they're cylindrical shaped, and they have multiple nuclei that are all kind of mixed in throughout. Cardiac muscle tissue. So myocardium, think back to that thick layer of the heart that you could really see when we opened up the ventricles. It's involuntary and it's striated, but they're not as big. There's not as many. The cells are also branching, and they connect at this little line that we call an intercalated disc. So similar to skeletal muscle, but it does look a little bit different. Our last type of muscle tissue is smooth muscle. It literally looks smooth under a microscope because it is not striated. It's also under involuntary control. The cells are short and elongated. The unique thing about this tissue is that it is very extensible or stretchy, but it still contracts back. So, like your stomach, your small intestine, think about how much your stomach can swell and shrink, but still maintain its original shape. Muscle functions. If I asked you to tell me what muscles do, everyone would probably say movement. And we have voluntary and involuntary. We think about just moving around, but your heart, your organs, they're still moving, even though you're not controlling them. The other three functions are maintaining posture, stabilizing joints, and maintaining body temperature. Your large skeletal muscles generate and maintain body temperatures, and that's really important when we talk about the muscular system's function related to homeostasis. Skeletal muscle structure. So we're looking at kind of big picture structure today. There is microscopic structure, more on that starting tomorrow, but I want you to try and maybe feel your bicep or another large muscle. If you're able to kind of pinch your muscle and roll it between your fingers, you can kind of feel like bands or cords that are located in there. We're going to learn what those are called. Your muscle is actually made up of lots of little cords or fibers together. And we're going to start small and then work our way up to the entire muscle as a whole. So a muscle fiber, the little red thing right there, those are individual muscle cells. Each muscle cell is wrapped in a protective covering called an endomysium. The endomysium is a type of connective tissue, so it wraps around the outside and supports that muscle cell. We take multiple muscle fibers, each wrapped in an endomysium. We group them together, and they're wrapped in another protective covering called a paramysium. So they're kind of like onions. There's lots of layers. There's different coverings that support each layer. So lots of muscle fibers together, wrap it in a paramysium. We call that a muscle fascicle. So this whole thing is a fascicle. If we take multiple fascicles, there's one, that's another one. Take those fascicles and wrap them together with a tough outer coat called the epimysium. So multiple fascicles grouped together, covered in your epimysium, makes up your entire muscle. That epimysia, just plural of epimysium, it all blends together to form tendons. It's this white, thick stuff down here. Tendons' function is to attach muscle to bone. So again, just like with compact bone, if we start grouping things in order of like small to large, it'll help you kind of keep track of how they're different and where they're located. So we go muscle fiber, grouped together to form a fascicle, many fascicles grouped together to form this entire muscle. And each layer has its own protective connective tissue covering. Okay, this model shows the different structures with construction paper and straws. So blue is your epimysium or outer covering. Then you've got your yellow paramysium, which surrounds your muscle fascicles. Muscle fascicles are made up of those muscle fibers wrapped in an endomysium. So on this slide, it lists things from outermost layer all the way down to the innermost layer. We also have stuff called fascia. So it's kind of like another thick connective tissue layering kind of looks like spider webs or netting. And there's some bigger groups of it, specifically this chunk. This is the plantar fascia. It's a really big, thick chunk of tissue that connects your heel, calcaneus, all the way down to the bottom part of your metatarsal and first phalange down here. So if this ever gets strained or irritated, people have a condition called plantar fasciitis, which is something that's pretty common in people who run, if you have like flat feet or overpronate when you walk. And I have linked a video. If you've ever heard of that or have more questions, you can go back through and watch this in the slides. Okay, again, we've got a tendon at the end. Epimysium surrounds everything. You've got paramysium around each fascicle and endomysium around each muscle fiber. Within that muscle fiber, there are other internal structures, but we will start looking at the microscopic anatomy a little bit more tomorrow. Okay, so I want you to answer the questions posted to Google Classroom about the content of today's lesson. Question number 3 asks you to create a visual representation of muscle structure. So I need your model to both represent and include a description of the following words: epimysium, paramysium, fascicle, muscle fiber, endomysium, and tendon. This was a lab that we were going to do in class. We were going to build these using construction paper, strings, and straw, but it's not happening. So build a model with the supplies you have available, make a key and a description that goes along with it. If you don't have any arts and crafts supplies, fine. Sketch it, label it with your descriptions. If you don't have colors available, make it pen and paper or pencil and paper, as long as it's neat and then it actually shows the different structures. Or you could try to draw it digitally, create a drawing in Google Docs, whatever works for you, and that will actually help you figure out the order of these different structures. Digitally is not just copy and pasting a diagram and labeling it. I want you to do this on your own. You actually have to learn it. Be creative. I'm going to be pretty flexible with how you guys work through these. I just need it drawn, labeled, sketched, however you're able to set this up. If you have questions when you're working, you know you can send me. All right. Hey guys, thank you for watching your video lesson. I just wanted to check in. Jack wanted to say hi, and thank you for turning all your NTI work in. Remember that you have a bell ringer for Thursday, today, and you have another one for Friday. Those both need to be turned in for your attendance points, okay? Then your assignment, which I'll post whenever I get to school, is going to be due on Friday. I hope everything is going okay with your other classes. I miss you all. I hate not being in the classroom and seeing you guys every day. So I'm going to set up a Zoom meeting time for later. I think it'll probably be around 1:15. I'll post the information on Google Classroom. It's not mandatory, but if you have any questions about the assignment, anything else related to NTI or anatomy, please feel free to join me in that Zoom meeting and I can answer those questions. And I think it would be nice just to kind of check in and see how you're doing as we reach the end of NTI week 1. Please let me know if you have any other questions. Send me a remind. And thank you for doing all your assignments. Everything is